Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. I found a very well-written article talking about the value of silver versus the value of the dollar. I think this is a topic I need to stress a lot on my channel because it's so important. It shares the intrinsic value that silver has to offer, the fundamental uses, the fundamental value, and what real money is compared to fiat currency. There is a difference. So with that said, the link to this article will be in the description. So, starts off to say, do you have an implicit, unswerving trust in the government, assured value of the dollar? If so, please don't waste your time reading this essay. This is for people who are wary of the government, weary of fiat currency. I mean, we're $23 trillion in debt. Banks are doing a lot of shady stuff behind the scenes. JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, the Dutch bank, all got caught spoofing, manipulating silver markets, manipulating Bitcoin, precious metals, everything. It's shady. So if you're one of those people that finds it a little off or a little unsettling that we're $23 trillion in debt and we're trying to get ourselves out of debt by replacing with more debt, like trying to pay off a credit card with another credit card, then this article is for you. And maybe gold and silver is the answer for you. But if you have even a sliver of doubt in the ever-dwindling value of fiat currency, if you fear the ravages of inflation, or if you're interested in some non-paper-based capital protection and possible appreciation, please read on. You might find a compelling, unique opportunity today. Value of silver versus the value of the dollar. Now, trade your dollars for actual gold and silver. Keyword is actual. I'll give you a hint. It's a new, simple way to trade your dollars for actual physical silver and gold. It's a way for you to personally return the cherished and forgotten gold standard. It's one way you can personally return to sound and honest money, even if the government doesn't. It's not a stock, ETF, options, or futures contract. The possible profits from those investments are real, and although those profits would derive from special metals, they take value from the market value of a piece of paper. And that's what I always talk about. The ETF side of it is essentially good, but it still is going back. Its foundation is built off of fiat currency, which is crashing. It's like switching seats on the Titanic. Yes, it's not fiat currency, it's another investment that is based off of fiat currency, so once the dollar crashes, that's going to crash with it. And that's why gold and silver, the physical gold and silver, is so important. If you can't get it, even better to own a real asset, ownership backed by tangible, dense, truly rare precious metals. But first, let's quickly go over the case for gold and silver as money, with particular attention paid to silver. Let's start with the dollar's forced debasement. It's the main reason holding a small percentage of your portfolio in real precious metal is not just important, but urgent. Gold and silver protect you against the inevitable decline of hollow paper money. They insure you against inflation. Today's inflation nearly as certain as death and taxes. Inflation rates are crazy. The dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power due to inflation, or it's called hyperinflation since it's such at a rapid speed. What you can buy, before we go on, the dollar's losing its purchasing power. And actually, this next sentence actually explains what I was about to say anyway. So let's just keep going on. Did you know that today's dollar can only buy about 2% of what it could in 1900? Compare that to gold, which buys 150% of what it could in 1900. So in a roughly century, gold has catapulted 75 times as much purchasing power as the dollar. And that's the reason why gold and silver have so much potential, is because it's like putting your money in a time capsule. It's preserving your wealth against inflation. The government's promise of stable dollar reeks like the breathless pledge of a toothy codger to a hooker. Not sober, not to be trusted, and it's certainly not something you should rely on for your investment future. The value of gold and silver does not hinge directly on a promise from government central bank. It is not a promise to pay. It's just gold and silver, the real thing. Those precious metals form a safe haven for your wealth, protecting you from the horrors of inflation and the destruction of paper currencies. In addition to offering unparalleled protection in today's uncertain financial world, gold and silver actually can offer you a powerful opportunity to increase your wealth. You can protect yourself and profit from the right exposure to those precious metals. It's an excellent combination, killing some of your risk and adding the possibility of gains. But just how likely is a rise in gold and silver prices? After all, both metals had good runs lately. Is the best behind us? Not at all. In fact, according to some, a second, even more powerful leg of the raging precious metal bull is nearly inevitable. I'm assuming you know about the stellar recent run-up in gold. It's doubled in a short period over 3 years. Silver's done slightly better than gold in the same period of time. But there's an alarming fact about silver you have most likely never heard of. Silver, the value of silver versus the value of the dollar. Above ground, silver is rarer than gold. Here we're getting into some very good stuff. Very good stuff. I talk about this a lot on my channel, but I'm glad that it's actually getting put into other articles and shared. This is one of my favorite articles I've read in a while. That's right, silver is rarer than gold. But now you ask, Greg, you dolt, why the heck does an ounce of gold cost 54 times as much as an ounce of silver? And actually it's 88 times right now. I'll get to that in a moment, but first I'll show you some more about silver's relative rarity. There's less above ground silver than gold. The main reason for that is the fact that nearly all dug up silver immediately goes to industrial use. Silver is one of the most useful elements on Earth with incredibly high thermal and electrical conductivity. In addition to the rabid industrial hunger for silver, the world's central banks, including America's, have sold off or used up the vast majority of their silver stockpiles. America ran their reserves through issue of popular silver coins, and it didn't seem like a waste at the time because the price snoozed at low levels throughout mid-80s and the early 90s. Today, industry uses 5% of exhumed gold, and obviously gold's industrial use grew out of the industrial era. For over 2,000 years, hard money, jewelry, and art and other lasting artifacts form the sole uses for gold. That means nearly all of gold ever yielded by the earth sits in bars, coins, and jewelry, shining through the ages with pride, with almost every unearthed ounce of silver perishes in industrial use. See, that's the thing they're getting to, is a lot of gold is recycled, reused, rescrapped. But silver is lost, never to be found again. So if the gold to silver ratio coming out of the ground is 8-to-1, it's actually less than that, because the gold that you're finding gets remelted and recycled, where silver is lost. So when they're digging up silver, it's not to be recovered. So the ratio is much smaller. And they're actually focusing more on gold, silver, lead, and zinc, not silver. They're abandoning silver mines. Silver supply is vanishing. So, now, an army of grinning grannies could liquidate their heirloom tea sets and serving spoons with $25 an ounce of silver. I wouldn't want to get in their way, but such an unpredictable unloading would unlikely have a lasting effect on the industry's necessary inventories of silver. That's why there are 1.6 billion ounces of gold inventory compared to only 300 million ounces of silver inventory. That's 5.33 times as much gold as silver. For the sheer heck of it, let's translate that into dollar value. At $554 per ounce, the entire gold inventory has a worth of $886.4 billion. At $10.33 per ounce, the entire silver's inventory is worth $3.1 billion. So, the total mass above ground gold dollar worth outweighs silver by 285 times, even though silver is 5 times rarer. And that's no argument. I can recite that explains why silver is not as good at inflation hedge against dollar basing as gold. You probably remember the British Empire measured the first world reserves currency, the pound sterling, in silver. In fact, if the argument for precious metals worth takes its power solely based on rarity, then you might think that silver should be worth more than gold. And yet, ounce per ounce, gold is 5.33 times more beloved than her slightly silvery sister. Of course, if more people start figuring this out and begin to stockpile silver for wealth protection and appreciating purposes, then silver might equalize herself more with her glistery sister. And although silver's ramped up on a tier hitting a 22-year high, even though the silver market's notoriously volatile, it could even have more explosive mid to long-term upside if its price equalized more with gold. Talking about the gold to silver ratio correcting more. This kind of situation makes the case for higher silver prices based on pure supply and demand. But you probably have heard of the mutterings about a possible ETF. Barclays would be buying bullion directly, similar to the gold ETF with the symbol GLD. Now, that new ETF would definitely put a strain on the already slim inventory supplies. The value of silver versus the value of the dollar. Overnight, you'd have a demand of millions of ounces of silver. That anticipated strain scares the heck out of industrial silver users, which explains the ferocious opposition of the proposed ETF. In fact, multiple interesting theories swirl around whether or not the silver ETF will gain regulatory approval, such as, where could a huge amount of silver be necessarily in the line of ETF's vaults come from? Does a billionaire, maybe Buffett, have a huge silver stockpile sitting around? Why are silver users so adamant about the opposing ETF? Does someone have a bunch of naked short contracts out there? It's enough to get the conspiracy-minded fellow extremely giddy, but I'm not here to speculate about whether or not the silver ETF will get a SEC approval. I think the price of silver has a good chance of going up, ETF or not. So, this article is pretty long. I'm going to wrap it up here just because I try to keep my videos at a timely manner. It does keep going on, so if you want to keep reading, link will be in the description. But man, oh man, was this a good article. Very well written, very to the point, statistical points with information-based context, and I loved it. I definitely think this gets the point across of why silver has so much potential compared to gold and compared to the dollar. See, it went a step further and also compared it to gold as well, which a lot of people question, why not gold? Why silver? What makes silver so special? Well, the reasons in this video were blatantly obvious. So anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're new because I do post daily videos. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'm out. Peace.